Get back to this bill real quick, and this is regarding this passage from Jeremiah chapter 12, verses 14 through 17. Thus says the Lord, against all my evil neighbors who touch the inheritance which I have caused my people Israel to inherit, behold, I will pluck them out. The Lord goes on to share some other things. You have some significant insight into this passage as it applies to the days that we're living in and what's coming.
But what that is it's God's peace plan. God knew this would be a big deal.
God's what plan?
Mideast peace plan. He knew this would be a big deal after years of desolation in Israel and warring factions back and forth. He knew that when the Jews came back into the land, it was going to be a big deal. So what he says in Jeremiah 12, is he's going to take the evil neighbors, he calls them evil neighbors, he's going to pluck them out, put them into their own lands. And he's going to take the Jews and pluck them out of those Arab lands where they had been dispersed and bring them back into the new Israel, which 1948 was rebirthed. And he says, I'll have compassion on everyone. Each one will be brought back to their heritage. So that's the good news. That was God's land for a peace deal, if you will. And after the Ottoman Empire collapsed, you saw that start to happen. The Arab states got their lands, and then Israel, of course, in 1948. So the plan is still in action, but, of course, everybody's oblivious to it. John Kerry is oblivious to it. All the international community, the Paris peace talks are oblivious to it. But what he says is this. He goes, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to have compassion on everyone, the Arabs and the Jews, because he's a loving God. Okay? He says, and if you worship me like you taught my children to worship Baal, which is when Jeremiah wrote, that was through the southern kingdom of Judah started idolatry. They were sacrificing their babies to the pagan god of Baal. He says, if you worship me, thus says the Lord who's alive, he says, then I will have compassion on you. But he says this, if you do not, I will utterly pluck up and destroy that nation. See, this is the severity of this situation. Those countries are not worshiping him. They're worshiping Allah. And they are anti-Israel. And they're going to be plucked up and destroyed. And I believe that's part of the Psalm 83 and these other peripheral prophecies. If you read those passages closely, that is what, when I was on Marcus and Joni Daystar TV, they asked me a question when John Kerry was doing his final stages of the peace talks back, I think it was in 2014 or whatever it was. What would you tell John Kerry if you were in front of him? I said, I would tell him that verse right there. That is God's peace plan. And that's what God has planned. That those people need to worship God, not Allah. And God has compassion on them if they will do that. He's a loving God. But if they don't, they're going to be utterly plucked up and destroyed. It's plain, it's simple, it's to the point, and it's fair. It's just.